Indira Gandhi National Open University presents a program for students of MAJMC, MAJDM and PGJMC titled Advertising Concepts, course code MJM020. The presenter of the program is Dr. Shikha Rai, Associate Professor, School of Journalism and New Media Studies, IGNOU. Let's listen to the program.
Hello, dear learners. Welcome to this session, which is going to talk about advertising, the concepts of advertising, and to help you build thorough understanding. We will first begin with the basics. So in this session, we're going to cover what is advertising, why should we advertise, what are the objectives of advertising, the difference between advertising, publicity, and propaganda. We're also going to look at advantages and limitations of advertising. So by the end of the session, you will be clear about what are the basics of advertising. For those of you who do not know the nuances of what it is and how it is done, this is the beginner's step. So let us begin with the first point in the discussion. What is advertising? Advertising, as you all know, something which is very creative. It is a commercial message and it is done in order to sell goods and services. So the aim is directly to sell. Now, one thing to remember is that this is a paid form of advertising. Advertising doesn't happen for free. If you want to put up a hoarding somewhere on the highway, it doesn't happen for free. If you want to have a radio jingle talking about your product or service, it is not free. So all of these advertising forms are paid forms. Then we also have to understand that this is a non-personal form of advertising. When we say non-personal communication, what we mean is that it is not targeted at one particular individual. It is targeted at multiple people. That is why it happens through media, through mass communication, because it is going to talk to faceless audiences. The advertiser does not know who all are going to look at this advertising or read through this ad. So this is called a non-personal form of communication. Also, advertising is about products and ideas. It is about services also. It is about all those things which we have in general. Anything that is aimed at selling can be sold through advertising. And of course, it is always done by an identified sponsor. You would all know that the ad spends for companies is a large amount which is allocated on a yearly basis. So obviously, only when the sponsor is known, when the name of the company appears in front of you, will it be successful, because it is trying to communicate to you how useful that product or service can be. It is trying to tell you why you should be buying it or why you should be using it. So if the name of the brand is not known, it is all a waste. Hence, it is always an identified sponsor. The next thing is, it is done through media. We all know that, because media is the only potent vehicle which reaches multitudes of audiences, faceless audiences who are geographically apart in time and space. And these are the people who can get targeted by mass media. So media is the only potent vehicle for that. Also, this is done to purchase or influence behavior. So the purchase decision can be influenced or the purchase decision can be manipulated if somebody believes in the message that he or she has received. So advertising is aimed at persuading people to make a purchase decision. Also, it is done in a manner to induce more purchase. Just by developing a belief, you do not meet the objective of advertising. Like whenever we have discussed about public relations and advertising, we say that public relations is aimed at building a goodwill. Similarly, advertising is aimed at increasing sales. The business volume must go up. And that is precisely the reason why there is so much money which is pumped into advertising. So the manner is such, the manner of this communication is such so as to induce purchase. The next thing we're going to discuss now is why do they advertise? Though I have made it amply clear in my discussion with you about what advertising is, and it'll be clear to you as to why we advertise. But yet, just to make it clearer still, we have to complete the economic cycle. Now, we all know that the market works on supply and demand. Only when there is more demand will the supply be able to meet that demand. And then the economic cycle becomes complete. In order that people get to know about the existence of a product or service, we need to advertise. Because advertising helps you in informing people, making people aware, educating them. Hence, it helps in completing the economic cycle. Again, production is incomplete without consumption. If there are companies that are producing, there are manufacturers who are producing goods and services, and there is nobody to consume them, what will happen? It will be a waste. And of course, the economic cycle will also not be complete. Hence, in order to ensure that the products which have been made reach the desired consumers or the customers, advertising is essential. Consumption is also dependent on awareness of a product in the market. Only when I know that there is a certain brand of, say for example, toothpaste, which has no fluoride in it, and so it does not harm my teeth, will I go and make a purchase decision for it. So hence, consumption is always dependent on awareness of the consumer. Only when I'm aware will I purchase. This gap which is created is always filled in by advertising and by publicity and things like that. So it helps you in drawing attention, and that is why we advertise. The next thing that we're going to discuss now is the general objective of advertising. And like I said, that information, persuasion, and reminder. These are the three basic general objectives of advertising. You have to inform the consumer about what exists in the market or what is this new offering that you have come up with in the market. Similarly, there is a need to persuade the consumer in order to create a better demand for a brand. There's already competition in the market. There are multiple brands of a certain product that exist. In that, what is the USP, what is the uniqueness of your product needs to be found out. So this persuasion is the objective of advertising. Then the idea to remind, say for example, we all know that Tata is a company into many verticals now. Initially, it was into making automobiles. So we know that Tata trucks used to be there. When do you start believing Tata? When you've seen the presence of a company, of a brand in the market continually and doing well over a large period of time. So while over this long period of time, you have seen somebody perform very consistently, when the same company comes up with a new vertical, you are able to accept it better. So the reminder that this company exists or the fact that their product has been with you for all these years is also an objective of advertising. The next we discuss the specific objectives of advertising. To begin with, I would like to pinpoint inducing trial. Now, the trial of a new product is something that does not happen on its own. It happens when you're trying to encourage people through your communication to try it, because you will come up with what are the exclusive features that a certain product has. What is it that it can do which the other products present in the market are not able to do? So that is the reason, that is the way how you can encourage people to try your product. So induction of this trial is also a specific objective of advertising. Then intensifying usage. The idea to get a new target segment to use the product. Say for example, online advertising has been used for multiple things. And if we try to intensify the usage of online advertising, we will see that more people are ready to convert their beliefs into a purchase decision online itself. So when an ad appears on a social media platform and you click on it and follow to the website of that product, you know that usage of this product has been intensified. So ideally, the specific objective of advertising is to intensify the usage of product, build in new consumers. I'll give you another example. a newspaper X has been read by your grandfather, has been in your family for years now. Your grandfather used to read it, your father used to read it. How are you going to ensure that the children of the 21st century are also reading it? The millennials are also reading it. Maybe by going online, by having e-portals or digital arms of that newspaper, because the children these days are more hooked to digital devices. They might not be very happy carrying a physical form of newspaper. So this is how you intensify usage. And this also is a specific objective of advertising. Then the idea to sustain the preference. I was just talking about this newspaper. How do I ensure that this newspaper continues to be the choice of the millennials? Continues to be in the preference list of the youngsters. So this is what advertising again does. While this is done, while the communication messages that are coming to you through advertisers are trying to motivate you into using this product or service, at the same time, the preference, the product itself is being changed, is being amended. Like say, for example, when we say that a newspaper starts having a digital arm so that people who are more hooked to digital devices also read through. What are we doing? We are trying to change the product. Why? To adapt to the needs of the current society. So this again is a way how preference is sustained, or preference of a product is sustained in the market. Then there is confirmation of image, which we say image retention. Like I was just talking about Tata. Now we all know that Tata has been a strong company and the fundamentals are very strong. The way it is built and the kind of values this company has, it has been contributing to the Indian economy in a big way. So what is it? This is the kind of image that this brand enjoys in the eyes of the Indians. But if we talk about the same brand going abroad, it may not enjoy the same kind of image. So one specific objective of advertising is also the confirmation of image, or to retain the positive image that the consumers have about a brand. Again, another thing is change of habits. Now, we know that we have come up with a new product or service in the market. How are we going to ensure that another brand, which has been enjoying a large part of the market share, reduces its share such that its consumers start consuming your product or service? Now, this too is done through advertising. Why? Because advertising messages will persuade you to buy it because it has certain amazing features which the previous product that the people were using did not have. So it helps you to amend or change your habits. Another major thing is that it builds a line of acceptance. Now, we know that Tata was into automobiles, Tata is also into salt, but did we also know that Tata is into a line of clothing, or it is also into the business of medicines? So it supplies medicines as well. But it'll be easy for us to accept this brand because we've been seeing it for many, many years. So building a line of acceptance is also possible through advertising messages. And this is yet another specific objective of advertising. Then now let us look at what is the difference between advertising, between publicity and propaganda. Let us look at it from different aspects. Say, for example, from the aspect of information. We know that advertising is non-personal, whereas publicity may be personal or non-personal. Sometimes just because you carry a certain tag on your bag, that tag, wherever you go, people are reading what's written on that tag, and that is how it is being publicized. So that can also be a simple way of publicity. So this can be both personal as well as non-personal. But advertising, since it is speaking to large faceless audiences, is completely a non-personal way of dissemination of information. As compared to this, propaganda is something which is mainly a form of political warfare. So most of the times when you have to create a certain image of the opposition or you have to dent someone's image, you make use of propaganda. And propaganda is not necessarily the truth. It may be built on lies as well. When we look at all these forms from the point of view of transaction, we know that advertising is completely commercial. Why? Because we have a sponsor for it, an identified sponsor for it. It is a paid form of advertising. So hence, this paid form of communication will obviously be commercial in nature. When we come to publicity, it may not be commercial, but the propaganda is usually aimed at changing beliefs and values. Now, like I said, that propaganda may not really be real. Everything that is stated as a part of propaganda may not be true. There can be some lies which are inbuilt, or there can be a changed version of truth that is prevailing. So the idea is, why will somebody do this? Because they are interested in in changing the beliefs, changing the values that a person or a certain section of population carries. Then the third thing is source. For advertising, it is always a known source. Everybody knows who is putting this advertisement. As compared to this, publicity and propaganda may have known or unknown sources. So sometimes when it is propaganda, people may not like to come forth and say a certain thing, but that is what they spread in the society through their potent vehicles. It could be media, it could be any other non-media things also. So the source of information may be known or may not be known. Then when we look at the form of this communication, advertising, as I said, is a paid form of communication. As compared to this, when we talk about publicity and propaganda, these may not always be paid. So all advertising is publicity, but all publicity may not be advertising. Also, all advertising may not be propaganda. So we do see that people make tall claims when they send out advertising messages. Nevertheless, all of it cannot be called a propaganda. So this is the basic difference between advertising, publicity, and propaganda. The next we come to the advantages of advertising for a brand. Now we will look at it from different points of view. We will look at it from the point of view of the brand, from the point of view of the consumer, and we will also look at what are the limitations of advertising. So first we will talk about advertising and its advantages for the brand. The first and foremost, it creates a primary demand, and this results in increased sales. So when there is a new product in the market, when there is a new service in the market, the advertising that is built around it creates a hype. And this leads to creation of a primary demand. At times you would see that it is an equally good product, but yet because it is a new product, it will be available for a certain lesser amount of money as compared to its competitors. So the primary demand gets created when advertising communication is telling you what is the great thing about this product, and at the same time you're also finding that it is less expensive than the competition. That is what will encourage or motivate the consumer to buy this product. So what will happen? It will result into sales. Second advantage of advertising for a brand is that after the initial sales is done, post initial sales, there is continuous advertising which ensures a steady demand. If there is continuous advertising that is going on, say for example, when we talk about advertising, it runs in the form of campaigns. It runs in various different forms. This is something we will discuss later as we proceed with the sessions of advertising. So after the initial sales, if you are consistent with your advertising, it can actually help you build your business volume. Thirdly, increased demand is raised sales, because more the demand, the more the sales will be. And more the sales, the better the turnover will be. So this is again the most important advantage of advertising for any brand. Then steady advertisement budgets results into more consumer goodwill. If you have a certain amount of money being pumped in as a part of your advertising budget on an annual basis or 6-monthly basis, you will see that it is producing real results. Why? Because it will help you develop consumer goodwill. It will help you develop awareness amongst the consumers and a greater line of acceptance for your product or service. If the demand in the market is steady, the dealers are interested in keeping or warehousing the brand. Now just imagine a situation where a new brand has been proposed in the market and nobody is ready to buy this product or the service. So what happens? Slowly, the retailers or the warehouse people try returning the product back, because it is not being accepted in the market. So if the demand is steady in the market, obviously the dealers will be interested in keeping and warehousing of this brand. Then it also helps the sales people, as maximum consumers are aware of the brand. So once people are aware, when you go to buy a toothpaste, you actually name the brand. You say, give me this X toothpaste, or give me this shoe, or give me this. So you know exactly which brand you're asking for. And it applies to the, fast-moving consumer durables. It applies to other daily goods. It applies to all sorts of services that you make use of. So here, the sales increase because maximum people are demanding a certain brand. Once a brand is established, consumers can sell directly without employing the middleman. So who gets benefited? The brand gets benefited and the consumers also get benefited. If people already know, say for example, a company that you buy, say, spices from, while it is available physically on shops, grocers and all, it is also available online where you can buy directly from the company at a discounted rate. So what is happening? The middlemen, you are bypassing all the middlemen, buying directly from the manufacturer, which is resulting into a profit for the manufacturer as well as the consumer. So this is another advantage for the brand. Now let us look at how advertising helps consumers. The first and foremost is that it informs about the product availability. We do not know how many different brands of a certain product are in the market unless advertising informs us, unless publicity tells us, unless on social media an ad props up. So that is one. And then comparison of brands becomes possible. The consumers are able to, when you are going to buy a consumer good, consumer durable, say for example, a refrigerator or a television, you compare between brands, between the features, between brands, between the prices. So comparison is possible. Just there's more communication about a brand that is taking place. Most of the times in the form of advertising. Increasing of competition is also beneficial to the consumer because it helps in bringing good quality to the consumer. What happens when two brands are of the same kind? Almost similar in price, almost have the same features. What is it? Which one is it that you prefer? You would obviously prefer the one which has better quality, which is more sustainable. So there is a certain order of priority for the consumers. And one after the other, as those demands get met, it is more profitable to the consumer. Because more the competition, greater will be focus on quality, the focus on satisfaction after using that product, so on and so forth. Prices may be reduced if middlemen are excluded. We all know, I just said the same thing when we were discussing about the advantages of advertising for the brand, that if we reduce the middlemen, the wholesalers, the retailers, everybody gets ousted. You are buying directly from the manufacturer. It is not only increasing the profit for the manufacturer, it is also helping you because your prices are getting reduced for the same product. Then if well informed, it saves time in making purchase decision. Lots of time we see that there is too much of communication. In fact, there is a communication overload. So if you're precisely and in simple language able to put forth in front of the consumer what exactly you want to communicate about your brand or about your service, it becomes easy that this kind of information, precise information, will help the consumer make a decision in favor of your brand. So it saves time in making a purchase decision. Now let us look at the limitations of advertising. There are certain limitations that everything has a limitation, so does advertising. Ads can ensure initial sale only. Bad quality cannot guarantee sales a second time. So say for example, you have motivated a person to make use of your service, say for example, a broadband service. And the person is not happy because every now and then there is no internet connectivity or the speed is slow or some such thing happens. What happens? You cannot keep pitching in the same faulty product for a second time. The person will go ahead and change his or her service. So ads are for initial sale only. Then it can only persuade, it cannot compel. While you are persuading a person to make a decision in favor of your brand because it has certain USP, because it is something new, because it has better technology, you can at the same time not compel a person to make use of it only. Let's take an example of smart and non-smart phones. If a person understands that there is a certain SAR level, SAR, this SAR level decides how many waves are being emanated from your smartphone, which is not good for your brain. And the person decides to go for a non-smartphone. You cannot compel this person because he has or she has very valid reasons of making the kind of purchase one is making. Even at homes, people do not give little children who are conscious, they do not give smartphones to little children because it hampers with their brain activity. So you can only persuade a person and show what are the best features and how it is good for you, how it makes life easy for you. But you cannot compel a person to make a certain purchase decision. Then advertising is only one-way communication and there is no scope for feedback. Advertising is more like mass communication. It is talking to large faceless audiences who are geographically apart in time and place. What does that mean? Say for example, you have a newspaper ad of your brand in one of the best newspapers. So everybody may be looking at it at different points of time. And time is also an important factor. Now, I might look at it in the morning and it might register me that this ad is going to be helpful for me. Another person may have had a bad day and in the evening when this person looks at this ad, might just think, why am I shoved with so much of information which I don't need? So it is only a one-way communication and there is no scope for feedback. There is no way how I can tell this brand that, yes, I really liked your communication, or the person who read it in the evening is able to come back and say that, look, this is too much of information. I don't need it. So there is no scope for feedback. And it is always, not always, but most of the times advertising is more exaggerated. So and it is less believable and people know about that as well. Everybody understands, that people cannot be completely driven only by an ad, because it exaggerates the wonders that the product or service can do. And that makes it a little less believable. So that is a limitation of advertising. So these are the basics of advertising. I hope you have been able to follow it and you've understood, grasped the basic concepts. Before we go on to the greater details of advertising in the next session, think creative. And I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you all very much.
You were just listening to the program titled Advertising Concepts, Course Code MAJM 020. The presenter and content coordinator of the program was Dr. Shikha Rai, Associate Professor, School of Journalism and New Media Studies, IGNOU. The program technically supported by P.P. Sharma, edited by Sadan Lal, and program produced by Santosh Kumar Pandian. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Productions Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi.